Hey everyone, welcome to another repair video. Today we're going to be working on this Xbox One original, and this has been sent in for no power. So basically it just doesn't turn on at all, apparently. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to just plug the power supply in. So this is my own power supply, it's a known good supply. And we've got an orange light on the brick there, which is normal. But let's just plug it in and see what happens when we press the power button. And as you can see there, the light goes straight off. So this is never going to turn on. There we go. So if we unplug this and then try and plug it back in, we'll see an orange light briefly show up, and then that will probably go off again. Yep, so it tries to go white. I did see a little glimmer of white there. But it won't turn on, and the power supply is putting itself into protection mode. So basically these power supplies, when they detect an issue with the console, when they detect some sort of a short, it basically turns itself off and prevents any power from going through to the console, which in turn protects the console from any further damage. It's fairly common on these to develop a short on the 12-volt rail. Sometimes it can be for absolutely no reason. One of the MOSFETs just randomly dies and then the console won't turn on again. So hopefully this is going to be a nice straightforward repair. So I'm going to take this apart and see what we can see inside. And while I've got your attention, while you're waiting for me to take it apart, if you're new to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notification so that you're notified whenever I release a video. I would really appreciate it. And I'm also going to take a couple of seconds just to shill my Amazon affiliate links. So if you want to support the channel in any way, shape or form, then one of the ways to do that is you can use one of my Amazon affiliate links, where you'll find in the video description. Basically, you'll find several links to some of the equipment I use in the workshop. And if you set one of those links as a bookmark, so for example, if you set the Amazon 30-day free trial link as a bookmark, then what will happen is every time you use Amazon, I'll get a little bit of a kickback. So it doesn't cost you anything extra, but it does support the channel. And it helps me to buy new equipment for filming, buy new equipment such as audio equipment, new tools, or even just a Chinese takeout meal for me and my family. And it really does help. So let's pop that off there. And I'm going to fast forward through the disassembly process just because it's a little bit time consuming. I like to keep these videos as short as I possibly can. So I'll fast forward through the reassembly and I will resume the video when I've got the motherboard out. Right, okay, so I've got the motherboard out now. First thing I'm going to do before I go any further is just inspect these ports and make sure we've got no damage. It looks like they're all good, so that should be absolutely fine. So I'm going to get the heatsink off then, using my X-clamp removal tool. Sadly, I don't know where to buy these from. These was gifted to me by a very generous viewer, and unfortunately I don't know where you can actually buy them from. But if you do find them, I highly recommend them. So let's just disconnect that. Okay, and first thing I'm always going to do is just give the board a visual inspection and see if there's anything obvious. So anything such as burnt components, liquid damage, signs of heat, that sort of thing. And right off the bat, I'm not seeing anything. Usually it's pretty obvious if you can see it. Usually it just kind of throws itself in your face. But I'm not seeing anything right off the bat. But basically, when we've got no power on the Xbox, when it's a shorted 12-volt rail, for example, it's usually something down this area here. So these are the power regulation MOSFETs. So you get 12 volt coming in, and it goes through this area here. Basically, these 4 MOSFETs, so these small MOSFETs here, are typically what fail. So I've got a feeling that it's probably going to be one of those. And the part number for those is TPN 8R903NL. Yes, that's a little bit of a mouthful, but that is typically what's going to fail on these particular motherboards. So we're going to go ahead and pop it under the microscope, and we'll see what we can do about getting some of these components tested. Okay, so apologies, I have just realised that my bench power supply was up on the screen. I've just disabled that. I am sorry about that. Never mind, I live and learn, I guess. Right, okay, so we've got a few areas which we need to pay attention to. So this area here, if I zoom out a little bit, you'll be able to see where it is, or roughly where it is. So direct left of these capacitors over here, we've got a little area, and this is the NCP4204. That looks a little bit, not rough, but you can usually read the writing on that fairly easy. It looks like it might have been subject to a little bit of heat. So maybe pay attention to that. But that's basically a power management IC made by, I believe, On Semiconductor. And then just left of there, we have a few different components. So if I just grab some tweezers, I can point. Basically, we've got a couple of capacitors, a couple of resistors. So all of these resistors are 2 ohms or 1 ohms, I think. I think that one, this one down here and this one here are 2 ohms, and then this one I think is a 1 ohm. And basically, power comes in, so it comes through these phases here, and these MOSFETs are responsible for regulating the power. And it's these MOSFETs here which typically fail. And sometimes if these fail, so does this, and this is the gate driver for the MOSFET. So basically this is linked to this, and sometimes this fails, or sometimes both of them fail. So what we can do is we can pop the multimeter into diode mode, and we're going to test for a diode reading on the MOSFETs. So if we look at the MOSFET here, we have 3 different sections of this. We have the source, which is down here, we have the gate, and we have the drain. So it comes in through the source, gate opens, drain. Basically, if we test in diode mode with the red probe on ground, and we test the gate, that's shorted. So 0.010 is a shorted MOSFET. So basically that should read around about 0.6 volts, 0.600, thereabout, give or take. That is board specific, it varies from board to board, but it's around about there. But that MOSFET is definitely shorted. And there we go, so 0.625. So we do have a good reading on that MOSFET. Again, 0.62. And again, 0.6. This one's always a little bit higher, 0.63. So this MOSFET here, Q9D1, is what's failed. And this is going to be the primary cause of no power. It could have other issues, but this is going to be the primary source of no power. And generally, this is a 50 pence or 50 cent repair. It's really straightforward. So if you know what to test and you know how to test it, generally a straightforward repair. So I'm going to set my hot air to 480 degrees Celsius here. And I'm going to give it 40% airflow. And the reason I'm going so high on the heat is because these boards are fairly thick. They do take a fair bit of heat, and time is money. So if I'm just removing a component, it's not going to hurt with how much heat I'm putting into it. And there you go. So that component is removed. And then I'm going to take the multimeter probes again. We're going to get a different reading here because the board is warm. Resistance increases with heat, and it's going to give us a couple of different readings. Test that again. 0.380, and that will increase slowly as the board cools down. But that short is now gone, and technically this device would probably attempt to power on at this point. I don't know if it would actually power on or whether it would beep and then turn off, but it doesn't matter anyway because we're going to replace that component. So like I said, the part number for this is TPN 8R903NL. You can buy them from DigiKey, Mozart, AliExpress, eBay. Don't buy them from eBay, you get ripped off. Right, okay, I apologise there. My microscope camera turned off on me. It's been turned on all night long. Bear in mind it is 1:31 PM right now. It's been turned on all night long since about 10 PM last night when it last went off. I hit record and it stopped working. I've got the microscope camera hooked up to my bench power supply, and for some reason occasionally the bench power supply is dropping out power. It's very strange. I'm not sure how long it's been off. I'm going to be honest. I'm not sure how long it's been off. But basically what I've just done is added some flux and replaced the solder that's on here with leaded solder, and basically that's just going to allow me to solder a new component quicker. There is a little bit too much solder here, so I'm going to wick a little bit of it away. But basically the short is gone, and we should technically be able to fix this machine. Okay, so I'm going to grab a new component, and I said it just before I realised that the screen had gone off, but basically you can buy these relatively cheap. These are the TPN 8R903NL, and it is a I believe it's a 30 volt MOSFET. I think it's got a 30 volt rating, I could be wrong. But basically you can buy these from pretty much anywhere. eBay, AliExpress, DigiKey, Mozart, all of that good stuff. Don't buy them from eBay. You will get ripped off. I genuinely don't recommend buying them from eBay. I'm going to grab a new MOSFET. I'm making sure that the orientation is correct. So you've got a dot in the top right hand corner. That's got to line up with the dot on the chip. I'm going to take my hot air again, and this time it's going to be set to 460 degrees Celsius at 40% airflow. So a little bit lower on the heat because we're working with leaded solder. I'm just going to flow this into place. I'm going to move the heat away for a second. Press gently on the chip or the component, MOSFET, whatever you want to call it, and then push down to make it flat to the board. You'll see a little bit of solder as scrolls out there. And you will put a little bit of a pressure point on the chip as well, don't worry about that, you're not going to hurt it. As long as you don't press too hard. So I'm going to add a little bit more flux. And then I'm just going to clean up the area using the soldering iron. So I'm just going to dab the soldering iron on here. And done. Job done. Alright, so the final step is to clean up. I'm just going to spray some isopropyl alcohol, get rid of this flux. And there we go. Okay, so I'm going to test this again. I might as well do it out of the microscope. But I'm going to test it again and just check the diode. So red probe is going to go on ground. Black probe on the gate. And we get 0.39. The board is still warm, so I'm expecting a lower reading. So I'm fine with that, I think. It should be okay. So basically what I need to do now is just clean off the old thermal paste, put some fresh on. I'm also going to brush down the board, get rid of the dust. Make it nice and clean. And if anyone's wondering, because I see this quite a lot, if anyone's wondering what this white stuff is, it is leftover residue from the factory. It's not corrosion, and it's not going to hurt the board. Okay, ladies and gents, and we are back together, fully reassembled, ready to test. So I'm going to grab my power brick back, and I'll just pop that there so you can see it. Just plug that in. Just plug it into the power cable. And we have a white light on the power brick, which means that short is resolved and it should turn on. There we go. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, so for some reason my input sources are playing up, but as you can see, we have it up on the screen there, and it appears to be working absolutely fine. So I've got that connected to my HDMI cable, which goes to the TV. So if I unplug this console now, it goes off on the TV. So there we go. Absolutely perfect. Everything appears to be working absolutely fine. So, like I said then, this is generally a straightforward repair. Now, bear in mind that I have been working on this console, so initial assessment, disassembly, diagnostics, repair, service, reassembly, test, faffing around with the cameras, faffing around with the microscope, explaining what I'm doing to you guys, and I've been recording for 39 minutes and 52 seconds. So if you take a look at my OBS scene down here, you can see that in this corner here, just come up to 40 we've just come up to 40 minutes. And this job is done. So, like I said, this is a relatively straightforward repair. It's not difficult if you've got a little bit of soldering experience. And even if you don't have any soldering experience, practice on a dead board 3 or 4 times and you should be capable of doing this repair. It's nice and straightforward if it is down to the MOSFETs. Now, a beep on beep off issue, it can be a different story. I'm not going to pretend it's not. A beep on beep off issue is where you turn it on, it beeps and then turns straight back off, and that can be a bit of a rabbit hole. But a completely dead, no power, even though it sounds worse than attempting to turn on and then turning off, it's actually not. It's much better, because a complete no power is generally down to a short on one of the primary power rails. And obviously, as you saw in this example, by replacing that MOSFET, the 8R903, this console works perfect. It's still turned on behind me. It's not going to shut off because the issue has been resolved. As to why it happens, I don't know. I don't have an explanation for that. Maybe someone in the comment section may. If they do, I'll pin it. But basically, a lot of the time what I find is water damage, but on this case, there was no damage to the board. There was no signs of liquid. There was no signs of any kind of user damage at all. In fact, the warranty sticker was still intact, and bear in mind these consoles are now 8 years old. So for the warranty sticker to be intact, and the board was relatively clean as well, it's never been opened before, and that MOSFET just randomly died. Yes, it lasted 8 years. I mean, fair play to Microsoft, hats off, but not all of them do. But by replacing that one MOSFET, as you can see, it works absolutely fine. But that's going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you do have any comments or questions, leave them down in the comment section down below. I will always do my best to answer, and if I can't answer, I'm sure someone in the comment section can. If you enjoy this type of content, be sure to hit the subscribe button and turn on the bell notifications so that you're notified whenever I upload. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so by becoming a Patreon supporter. There's a link in the video description to that. You can become a channel member by clicking on the join button down below the video. And channel members and Patreon supporters get early access to videos. Or you can just use the Amazon affiliate links where you don't have to actually pledge any money at all, but just using the Amazon affiliate links, like I said, set one of them to a bookmark, and it will help out the channel. Trust me, it all helps. It all adds up. But that's going to be it for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later. Bye for now.